Please join me on stage. Hello, hello, hello.
Who's that guy you were talking about? Is this on?
Yeah,
you hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
you're here.
All right.
Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How have you been? You been enjoying yourself?
I've been good. I mean,
Yeah.
I was very impressed with the fireside chat.
Yeah.
You know, made me want to get my life together a little bit.
Listen, you and me both. So actually, speaking of getting my life together, I actually have a real question for you, and I hope that it represents some other people here.
Okay.
This is off script, by the way.
Okay.
So listen.
You went off script on the first question?
I did. I know.
Oh, man. Y'all just told me the questions 10 minutes ago. All right.
So listen, I got this really good opportunity, real talk. And it came to me a couple of days ago. And at first I felt like a lot of peace about it, but I have a lot on my plate. Surprise, surprise. And it would require me to kind of uproot a little bit of things for a temporary amount of time. What advice do you have for me to really be able to weigh if it's worth it in this season of my life?
Well,
does that represent anybody out here?
I'll tell you, for me, it's always been, I guess because I'm also married and I had small children. My boys are now older, but you know, so my career has been littered with I have to, as they say, get to the bag. So in particular, one time I was in between jobs and the bank account was getting low, and then I got a call to move to Atlanta to be co-head writer for the Monique Show. And it was an amazing opportunity, but I knew I had to leave my family, you know, but you have to make those kind of sacrifices, because also not only was it the financial aspect, but it was also the fact that I was getting the opportunity to do late night television, something that I really wanted to do. So I was feeding my family and feeding my passion at the same time.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm gonna really sit with this. This is a real question I had.
No, I got you. I feel you.
Yeah,
I mean,
I was like,
I've you know, like I moved here from I'm from New York, so
Okay.
you know, like I moved out here. Actually, I got tricked into moving out here, kind of. Marlon Wayans is one of my best friends. We went to high school together, and so I did. I'm a former actor. I did the movie Juice, and so when they were doing Don't Be a Menace, he was like, "Yo, so we're gonna fly you out because we wrote a scene for you for Don't Be a Menace." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I packed 2 weeks worth of clothes. You're gonna stay for 2 weeks. We're gonna hang out, kick it, whatever. So he said, I'm gonna fly you out, and Sean's gonna fly you back. But then when I got here, then that night when we were at his house, he was like, "We're not flying you back." Because we're about to do a sitcom, and you need to be in California. Like they like literally kidnapped me. They strong armed me. They strong armed me into moving to California. I wanted to go back to New York so bad. I hated California when I first moved out here. But I'm here now.
You're still here?
I actually lived here longer than I lived in New York.
Oh, wow.
I call myself a new Angelino.
A new Angelino?
Yeah, that's my nickname for myself.
Okay.
Because I have there's like clubs that have closed that I remember going to, like, you know, like when I drive down Sunset, like I remember certain, like I have so many memories here, so that, you know, it's I love being here now.
Yeah. Well, speaking of being here, how have you developed your resilience? Because we speak about the word in such broad terms, right? But how do you develop that? Because that's a muscle, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, but, you know, I think my upbringing and being a child actor, dealing with that rejection, you know, it taught me that I knew I had to be somewhat of what I call a Swiss Army knife in my career. Because when I was starting, you know, it's like you deal with the rejection, you know, and it hurts. It hurts to be told like you're too fat for a role, or you know you're not tall enough for a role. Like, you know, it's like, and you're hearing that at like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah. Oof.
You know what I'm saying? So I had to overcome that. But then I got inspired by Spike Lee, and I saw that it was another route that I actually could do something different. And so a friend of mine just so happened to be doing PA work for Do the Right Thing. And it was during the summer, and I was just so ravenous. Like I've always tried to, I don't know if it's my New York intensity, but I've always just like, I got to do it. I got to get to it. So I was like, are they looking for interns? And so he said, I'm going to check for you. Next day, he comes, he calls me, he says, yo, they are looking for interns. But you got to be 13. So I went to my mother, and I asked her if she could doctor my birth certificate so I could get my working papers.
Okay.
And my mother was like, do you really want to do this? I was like, yeah, I want to do this all summer. I want to work on set all summer. I want to be around Spike Lee. And she did it. And that's my first behind the scenes credit, was doing and I got to meet, I mean, obviously you guys know the cast of the movie. I got to be around Sam and, you know, Spike, and, you know, I got to meet a writer mentor of mine, and Kenny Buford, who went on to write Martin. You know, it's like I got to meet all these people, and it just set me on a pathway.
Yeah.
Where I knew that I could do something else other than act. And I think that's when the light bulb kind of hit.
Okay.
And I started taking writing more seriously. Being able to read the whole script and do the right thing, you know, it's like, I started to think, like, I don't want to have to just worry about the character in the script. I want to be able to have the versatility to write for all of the characters, to go tell a story from beginning, middle to end.
And that way, it's kind of like you get to act and be everybody, right?
Exactly.
You get to be all the characters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the joy in it.
I sometimes, even when I'm writing scripts, I cast it in my head so it kind of helps me write those voices.
You cast it like you already kind of know who you're writing for?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
see it in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, and that's kind of what I've tried to, you know, do in terms of, like, I talk about being a Swiss Army knife. It's like I think I get to write for so many different comedians and different people because I can channel their voice pretty well.
How do you think you've developed that?
Listening.
Listening.
I mean, really just listening. It's cadence. You know, it's cadence. I just did a punch-up job for Candy Cane Lane for Spike Lee's, Reggie Hudlin's movie with Eddie Murphy. And it was hilarious because I'm sitting here in my house. I'm literally in my home office, and I'm writing jokes for Eddie Murphy. But obviously, I know Eddie Murphy's voice like the back of my hand. Like, his comedy raised me. So, and I got so much stuff in the movie.
Wow.
Like you know, when you punch, like, you're pitching, like, you're not guaranteed to get the joke in. But I got so much stuff in, and we've worked together for years. And sometimes he'll call me like, "Yo, I ain't got no money for it, but I need you to hook this scene up real quick." Like, of course, like I would do it in a heartbeat, you know. But it was a great experience to be able to write for one of my heroes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, though, because, okay, we got to get to the bag. We know it,
Yes.
right? But how do you discern what jobs or what, you know, opportunities need to be, you know, bag worthy, or those that you're just doing, you know, out of the kindness or out of your relationships,
Well,
right?
I mean, like, you know, to be quite frank, you know, they don't pay you a lot of money to write the Oscars, but it is the Oscars. You know what I'm saying? So
You're not going to be like,
the prestige is the prestige to have. I mean, I remember the first time they hired me through an email, and I thought somebody was fucking around. I thought somebody was really
spam.
I was sitting with my boy. We was having lunch. Me and my boy were writing the film together. So we went to go have lunch outside because we had been inside so long. And I got this email, and I was like, "Yo, read this shit." And I just happened to know the dude, Rob Payne, who hired me. And I called him. I was like, Rob, are you fucking with me? And man, I cried like a baby. I was so happy. I was so happy to get that little menial check, but I took the prestige.
You took the listen.
Yeah.
Speaking though, you spoke, you know, as a child or as a preteen, facing that rejection. As a writer, how do you, or are you able to disconnect rejection of your words? Because that's life. You know, you're breathing onto a page.
You know what's funny? I've grown to a space where I can't take any of that personal.
Good.
Like the stuff that gets scary though, like especially when I'm writing. Like, I've been the head writer for the BET Awards for the last 19 years. And so the wildest thing is, like, you're working on stuff, you're working on these comedy bits for Kevin Hart's and, you know Regina Hall and all these different people. And then on Friday, like the show's on Sunday, on Friday, emails go out with all the copy. So then all I'm getting for the next incoming with publicist telling me my work is shit and we got to change it. So I live with that. You know, the rejection is a part of the gig. It's a part of what it is. But I can't even take it personal because I also know how to well, what are you asking?
Right.
Because sometimes they'll say like, sometimes people are just real trivial. They'll want their client to be able to give out the award rather than because it was switched and somebody else is going to do it. Like it gets really Hollywood, like for real. But I've learned, I guess through my years in doing this, like I can't take that personal because then there's always a point when I was like, I just want to get to Sunday because they can't change shit once the show starts. You know what I'm saying? The show starts at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And we've still changed shit. Like I remember one year, the year that Jesse Williams got his award, we had to literally, his acceptance speech was too long.
Okay.
So me and him literally had to cut it backstage while everything was going on. Like other people coming in to read, and we're making these cuts in real time.
Wow.
In real time. So I mean, I've done all kinds of crazy things that you wouldn't believe in this crazy world of writing.
Speaking of that, though, you know, there are a lot of people out there like you know, acting to writing, which is I think a very a natural transition, even you know, vice versa. But growing within and expanding within writing, you know what I mean? Going, you know, Tamika's an author, but you know, what would it be like for her to want to traverse into the screenwriting space? Right. So how have you really forged this path of being able to write for different, you know, forms of writing?
Again, I'm being quite honest. I want to lie to y'all. Like it's about like trying to have the versatility so that I'm never unemployed. Yeah. The fear of unemployment. Okay. So, I mean, I think one of my biggest accomplishments was the Emmy nomination because I'm known as a comedy writer. I'm known in this business as a comedy writer, you know, and they try to label you. But, you know, I've always enjoyed challenge. And the dude that was producing the John Lewis special with my boy Jesse Collins, he called me, he's like, yo, I got something crazy for you. And I know you can do it. Knock this out the park. And then I remember and I had to write for like Oprah one segment, I had to write for Gail, I had to write for Tyler Perry, Brad Pitt, and Trevor Noah. They each hosted a segment speaking on Mr. Lewis's life. And this is during the COVID. This is during COVID. So I remember, like, of course, when you send this stuff out, of course Oprah's going to have notes, right? Of course Gail's going to have notes. I didn't get no notes. Like, I don't know. That's right. I don't know what I was on. I don't know what.
I know that's right.
Maybe it was just because I was just in the house and I had nothing to do, so I was really focused and my English was good, and, you know. But yeah, and then it was funny because one of the other producers, he called me when they were editing and he said, "Bro, you're gonna get an Emmy nomination for this." And I was like, "Fuck out of here! I'm not getting no Emmy nomination. They don't give Emmy nominations to people like me." And then I got the call.
So did you ever have a vision board or anything like that for awards or accolades?
No, you know, I'll be honest with you. I mean, like, you know what I like to do? Like when I do a show, if I'm really proud of it, I'll take the cover out and I'll put it in the frame. Okay. You know, and I'll hang it in my office. Okay. And it's funny because one of them, I was working on when I was writing for the Upshaws, and you could tell I was eating something because the cover is like really grimy. I'll say, "Babe, why you hang?" My wife, I was like, "Why you hang this?" She's like, "Because it's real. You were working."
It's got grit.
And one had, I had like little joke punch notes on one. And I was like, "Why you put that?" She's like, "Because I like that. I was like, "All right, we'll leave it up then."
How have you faced setbacks? How have you faced those head on?
You know, we just had a writer's strike, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How did you face them?
I don't know, man. I just think I try to tap into the creativity. I try to, you know, my thing was like, I'm going to be ready when the strike is over. Okay. So my thing was like, I had, you know, are there writers in the room here?
Writers, raise your hands.
Okay, so it's like you sitting on a project and you you got like a paragraph written, but you never really you kind of walked away from it, you know? So I had this this pilot that I wanted to write that I had been thinking about writing forever. And one day I was just like, yo, I'm gonna write this month. I'm gonna write this whole treatment out. Like I'm on like 10 pages. I'm gonna write this entire story out today. And I just did. You know, because it was like I wanted to, you know, like I said, when the town opens back up, I want to be able to have something to hit the town with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just, I mean, sometimes I'm not perfect. I mean, sometimes I get down. Like, what I've learned as I've gotten older, is like even I'm working on a game show right now, right? And then I got some really bad news from back home. And normally I'm the kind of guy that like the New Yorker in me, I try to plow through something, right? I've done it a million times in my career, you know. But I just called in and I said, hey guys, I can't do it today. I can't be funny today, you know? And it's hard for me to say stuff like that, but I've learned to like try to, like, because I'm always on the go. I wake up really early in the morning, and I think I'm conditioned because I was a father. I'm a father, so I always had to take my kids to school and stuff like that. But now my boy's in college. You know, I can kind of make my own schedule. And what I've learned is like, I'm not a sleeper, but I've learned to start resting more.
Ooh, what does that look like?
That's like just laying up in bed.
Okay, staring at the ceiling, just thinking.
Just laying up in bed. Like,
okay.
You know, I can't, once I'm up, I'm one of those people, like once I'm up, I'm up. But I also have learned to give myself grace and allow my brain to refuel itself.
Yeah.
Because, you know, sometimes when, you know, I say the craziest thing about writing is like you stare at that blank screen and all it asks for you is to fill it. But some days the screen wins. Someday the screen wins. I'm like, someday, like, especially when you're writing a movie, like I was like, well, I've always had like a plan, like, okay, I want to get 5 pages done a day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get a good solid half a page. And I have it already outlined, but sometimes the stuff just isn't coming. So I've learned how to stop beating myself up about it.
Right.
You know, I don't believe in writer's block, to be honest with you, but I just know like sometimes you just got to sit this one out.
Yeah, you sit.
Go watch the Laker game or something.
I'm curious why you don't believe in writer's block. Like, why not?
Well, because I think writer's block to me is something that, what's the best way to put it? I think there's 2 ways to do it. There's 2 ways to do it. And I've done both ways, and I've been successful at it. One way is to, like I said, close the computer and go do something, take your wife to dinner or do something, whatever you got to do. The other way that I used to do a lot when I was younger is I would plow through it. I would write what I know are 5 terrible pages because at the end of, I'm going to find something that clears me open, and then I could go back and create the stuff that I need to get to that point where I ended.
You know what? This is teaching me something, and I hope it's. Are y'all learning out here? Y'all learning? Can a show of hands, who feels like that was a little bit of a breakthrough about this idea of writer's block? Because I'm wondering if that's really judgment. Uh-oh.
Me judging myself?
Judging myself, like, because you're saying I just go on the page, I just write, and I'm mining. Something's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Is writer's block judging that I don't have anything to say versus just going for it and letting it find itself?
But we're all creative people, so
Yeah.
it's like you're feeling it. Sometimes you just, like I say, sometimes you just don't feel it. For me, especially when I'm working on a sitcom, I don't have the option to not feel it, though. Sincerely. Like, there's a deadline, it has to be done. There's already a shoot date set for so like I got to get this script written in a week, and I have no excuses, so that's also what's taught me, the deadlines. Like I say, like trying to get to 5 o'clock on Sunday. Like I know there's a deadline, but you try to make sure that you're as prepared as you possibly can, but also open enough to be able to be creative in a given moment. Because when I worked on Marlon's crazy. Marlon's the kind of guy, like he'll walk, like this is a show that he did where he was with Essence Atkins. So one day he comes in the dressing room, he's like, yo, I need you to change. I need you to make this funny. I said, Marlon, you say hi. Like, what, how the fuck can I make saying hi funny? He said, I don't know, make me do something. I don't know what it is. I need a joke. I need a joke. He's a joke fiend.
Okay.
So I got to put jokes on. And I said, that should be the name of your book, Make Hi Funny. Because and again, that's my best friend, so I could talk to him like I don't get to talk to, like, say Jimmy Kimmel. But it's like, oh, motherfucker, why are you so crazy, bro? Like, it's just say hi, and I write some, we'll find some jokes. He's like, no, you got to make that funny. But I'll give him the credit. He's given me so much in terms of, like, I never went to a writing course in my life.
Okay.
I learned through the process of doing.
Yeah.
And, the greatest thing was to be able to have access to Keenan, who I remember we would go punch up and I would see his board. And I was like, what's that? And so I was learning all these things. Like, what's this board? And I said, this is scene by scene. So he's like, you're gonna have the scene. You're not gonna have the words till you write the words, but you're gonna have the scene. You got the whole story down. And it was like, now it's like old hat. But when I first found out about that, I was like, oh my God, like, you can really do that. And it's been a part of my personal process for forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And there's who here didn't get formal training in writing? Cool. So I'm sure y'all have some questions. So hold those, put those on your phone, because now's the time. There's no time like the present, literally. How do you balance having an actual life? Because I find that, it's been challenging in my career, to be honest, right? But how do you say, like, even being a father, like, no, I'm going to actually live a life. I'm going to get married. I'm going to.
Man, I'll tell you this. I say this all the time. All those titles you guys see up there, nothing's better than being a father. I love my kids.
That's so beautiful. That's
I love my kids. Sorry.
No, don't. This is Soul Canvas. This is where creativity meets wellness.
This is like therapy.
Yeah,
I ain't got no vodka in the back.
No, that's
but yeah,
powerful.
so what I do is like Monday through Friday though. Like once I took my boys to school, I had to be on set. I had to be in the writer's room. I had to be, and so they had to sacrifice.
Yeah.
But the weekends was for them. So even if I got home from set at 12 o'clock, and Cole, my son's name is Miles and Coltrane, and if they both sometimes they're 7 years apart. And they both had athletics. They both played youth athletics. So, sometimes I'd have, like, me and my wife would have to split the duty. Like, I take Cole to Anaheim, and you take, Miles to Thousand Oaks. So it's just like, but I got so much joy from that. Yeah. As a matter of fact, this company left the thing on my door. I was actually about to leave, and it's called I-9 Sports. And it's like youth sports. They put it on this table that we have outside. And I showed my wife, and I said, this is so funny because, like, we are no longer in the youth sports until we have grandchildren. And I'm not in no rush to do that right now. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, my God. How am I on time? Anybody? Nobody's looking out for me. 10 minutes? I only have 10 minutes? Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm going to open up the floor for questions because I'm sure there are a lot. But before I do that, I'm going to ask a couple more.
Okay.
but prepare, y'all. We're about to open your hearts and minds. So, I do ask you to provide us with some advice to those filmmakers or those creatives. And I'll put myself out there like myself who feel like I'll do it later, or I'm not ready, or when I get to a certain part of a place in my career. What advice do you have from the vantage point of being a husband, of a father, in terms of how it actually adds to your career, adds to your life and who you are?
Well, it's like when my sons, they're always watching. And now that they're older, I can tell. And I think it was actually a very interesting time during COVID because Dad just goes to work, and then something pops up on television. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't understand the process. But my oldest son, Miles, he kind of is transitioning into one to write. He does music now, but so I would let him sit in on some of my meetings. And then I would ask him to start pitching me jokes or pitch me an idea, so, and then my son Coltrane, because he was distance learning at the time, and I didn't want him, the one rule was he couldn't go distance learning in his room. We had to be able to see him actually.
Okay.
So we had him in the living room. But all he did was see me come in and out of my office for hours on end, but I think it taught them a valuable lesson, like, my dad really is like grinding out here, like, because sometimes in the flow of one day, I'm working on 3 different things. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm just doing one project, because like when I did the Emmys this year, I was doing the Oscars at the same time.
Okay.
So sometimes I have to give some of my day to one thing, and then another part of my day to another thing, and then I'm in the process of trying to write a film, so I'm having to give my evenings to that sometimes.
Right.
So it's all about time management, and and again, once your brain ain't got no more, then close the computer.
Leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
What length for project when you have like 3 projects like you did at once? How long are your work days?
I mean, when you're doing it's more like assignments. Like it's like you got to write these 5 assignments. You know what I'm saying? So, and for some reason, the mornings are always really good for me. My brain is fresh, and so I would probably say I normally start around 6, and I shut down around 7:30.
Okay.
Yeah, because then by that time it's like, again, I don't deal in diminishing returns, and especially during the time I'm sitting in the house, I have to go get some air. Like,
yeah.
I have to, I literally do this sometimes before I have Zoom meetings. I just go out in front of my house and just walk up and down the block a little bit, just to detach myself from the computer. And that's, like I say, I'm learning to do this. This is like something I think that since COVID that I've learned is like you have to give yourself the time to not do anything,
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah.
2 more questions and I'm going to open up the floor. 4 practices that you have, you can give our guest here in terms of taking care of your wellness. So you've given us them, but if you could just like sum them up for them, how you take care of Mitch.
Well, like I say, one of the things I do like is really like, especially like when my son just came home for spring break, because it's really weird not having him in the house, right? So it's like when we're all 4 together, that's just relaxing. Okay. It doesn't. Sometimes we're watching a movie. Sometimes we go to dinner. It's just spending time with them, hearing their thoughts. Like I said, sitting up in the bed, just resting.
Okay.
I'm very regimented in a way, but I've learned to even write in bed. You know what I'm saying? Like if I do have a deadline, like when I'm doing this game show, I gotta write 10 questions a day, and then I gotta write another 8 for the bonus round. So it's like every day. So I just gotta give myself that space and time, but I don't rush my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't rush your body.
And then I try to work out a little bit. I try to get my my cardio on. You know what I'm saying? That always makes me feel good, and gives me that release and let the endorphins flow. And sometimes it opens up the creativity too. And twice a year I do candida cleanses.
Okay. Oh, I've never heard somebody. I have interviewed a lot of people, and I've never heard somebody say cleanses.
Yeah, I do
Were
cleanses.
y'all.
I do cleanses.
Okay.
I mean, I like to party a little bit, so sometimes I gotta get a liver a little break.
Yeah.
And another thing Marlon put me on to, we do them twice a year, and it's nothing but completely clean eating.
Okay.
And no sugar, no bread. Like it's like the first 5 days are hard as hell because you're cold turkey in something that you've been doing. Like I like pizza. I'm from New York. You know what I'm saying? So I can't eat pizza. But by that 6th to 7th day, your brain becomes like a freaking machine. And I remember the first time I did it, I like to do the elliptical. I'm on the elliptical, and I swear, all these ideas just was hitting me up in my head, like, yo, you gotta write this. So I'm literally feverishly trying to write it on my phone because I didn't want to lose it or leave it. And so, I think those things are really impactful to, because you're doing something for your health, but it's also helping your mind.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's like, yeah, thank you. So I hear community in there, y'all. Rest, cleansing, fitness, taking care of your temple. Community, though, we can get so wrapped up in going, trying to accomplish, especially when we're in the early to mid, when we, you might be mid in an independent world, but the industry might see you as early, right? Whatever that is, when you're hustling and grinding, you can feel so tunnel vision. I'll speak for myself saying absolutely, but you gotta have community. You can't, and when you have family at home that, forces that upon you, should you participate, but you gotta have community.
Yeah, it's like family, like my friends, like, I go to this little sports bar, hang out with my boys and just watch the game and just kick back and scream at the TV, you know what I'm saying? Like, just be I think you just got to be a human being. Yeah. You got to, you can't just be a machine. I think that's what this second part of my career is teaching me.
Okay.
Because I did when my son, like I said, when my sons were small, it was like, yo, I got to get it. I ain't got time. I was, tunnel vision sometimes. And I think sometimes I didn't allow myself to enjoy what I was doing. It was like, I literally I don't really watch the stuff that I do because I'm living in it. Like when we're doing a sitcom, I'm in all those scenes. I've already seen the show shot. I don't really go back and look at it.
Yeah.
I will look at the ratings to see if he's going to come back for another season. I don't look at stuff like that. And those kind of shows, honestly, are very exhausting. I have a problem. I can't sit.
Okay.
That's the one thing. My boy, he called me. My boy Rodney Barnes, he's one of the exec producers from Winning Time. He says, "Oh, I know it's getting real because Mitch is pacing." Because there's the prompt to read, and I'll just be pacing. And my feet after every award show hurt. Like I can't do nothing the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, I shut everything down. Everything down. Because matter of fact, they was trying to have a in-person Oscars meeting the day after the Emmys, and I was like, yo, but Mitch ain't gonna be there. is there a Zoom link? And that's what I've learned. I've learned, like, it's like I think I've established myself enough that I can say no to certain things, whereas before I was, you had to earn my stripes, So, they ended up canceling the meeting because nobody wanted to do it,
Thank you so much. All right, so 3 questions, and this is it.
Okay.
Hurt, heal, joy. I do this on my podcast. What is currently hurting you? What do you want to heal? And what brings you joy?
Ooh. What's hurting me is, wow, that's crazy. All the losses that I've been experiencing, all my losses.
Sending you prayers.
That's what hurts, Not, I think somebody was like in the panel before was talking about calling his mother, and I don't have that. So that's what hurts. What heals me, that's the second one. What heals me is accomplishment.
Okay.
Accomplishment, like, because I always kind of joke sometimes, like, I've been conning motherfuckers for years, and I just got another gig. I say that every time. I'm still conning you motherfuckers. Y'all know I don't know what I'm doing up here. And so I think the accomplishment, it's funny, I was looking for a picture, and I was scrolling, and I went through some pictures of, us at the Oscars. And like sometimes, like, I so dismiss stuff sometimes. I was like, oh yeah, I just did that. That just happened 2 weeks ago, So that, and what's the third?
Joy. What brings you joy?
Bring me joy? Oh man. In life or as a writer?
Let's say in life, actually.
Okay, in life. Wow. Everybody in my house being happy with me at the same time.
Ooh.
That's very rare.
Ooh.
That's very rare. But I mean, it's like, I actually, like, especially with my kids, my wife and I have 2 kids, and I have kids from another relationship. And everybody always marvels when they look at the pictures of them, like, oh my God, you have such beautiful kids. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But at some point, all 4 of them hate me simultaneously because I didn't either do something or I wasn't able to send them money right away, whatever it is. It's like, what gives me joy is when they're enjoying me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's powerful, though.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And listen, I'm going to be praying for that which hurts you.
Thank you.
I really
Appreciate
will.
that.
I really will.
Thank you.
Y'all, Mitch Marchand, I'm not going to close, but please give him a round of applause.
Thank you.
And let's have those questions. Throw them hands up. Throw them hands up. Questions, anyone? Preguntas. Okima.
It's not a question, it's just a comment. Thank you for sharing with us today. So many times we meet people that are successful and doing their thing, and they share, and it's beautiful, but sometimes it feels slightly masturbatory. And so I appreciate that you came and shared, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know what I'm doing. And for a lot of us here, we've all been working and doing so much, and like, we don't know what we're doing, but we know what we're doing. And so like, to know that someone at your level is still doing and feeling that way is so affirming, at least for me, because I don't never know what I'm doing. I'm just making this shit, but it works, period.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anybody? Questions? Oh, okay. Yeah,
Hi, I'm Anna Sancho. Thank you for being here. Really
Thank you.
your presence. I have a question about kind of how you juggle competing priorities, competing deadlines. I find myself, I am a screenwriter and I have a few projects that are in production, but I'm also a tech copywriter. And so I kind of find myself when 5 p.m. hits, I'm ready to be done for the day.
Right.
And I would love to know if you have any advice or any techniques on how to maybe persevere through that like second half of the day with like competing projects, but then also balancing your time to make sure that you're executing on all these deadlines.
Well, I mean, for me, it's just like if the deadlines are spread out, just kind of give the energy to that which is first. And I know that's a really dumb thing I just said, but that's really the truth of the matter. Is it's like sometimes it's like, and like I said earlier, when I'm working on multiple projects, it's like giving myself, like when I was, the year I did the Oscars, the year of the infamous Will slap, right? I was working on a sitcom, the Upshaws. So every day, and we were working from Zoom at the time. So I would give my day to the Upshaws. I would get my assignments for the Oscars, and then I would do those assignments. Like I said, I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I would do those assignments in the morning and send them out before we had to get on the 10 o'clock Zoom for the Upshaws. Ooh. So, I mean, there's no one way to do it. It's what you need to do to feed yourself and not deplete yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Kiana. I'm a screenwriter and a recent graduate, so I'm very comfortable with, thank you. I'm very comfortable with deadlines and structure, but now that I have a full-time job, and similar to what she's saying, do you think it's healthy for me to give myself self-imposed deadlines on personal passion projects, or does that combat the whole mental wellness and letting the project kind of flourish and go creatively?
That's
Great
amazing,
question.
Yeah.
I would say that I would lend, if you're doing multiple different projects, you said, do the thing you're most passionate about first. That's the thing that I would normally, like I told you, like that day I was just like frustrated. I was on strike. I wasn't making any money, and I had a paragraph of this pilot that I had been writing for 7 years, and I was like, I'm just going to write it today. And I felt, like I said, accomplishment, like that great sense of accomplishment, and it's about, the project's about, loosely based on my life with my wife, how we met, because she's older than me. So I wanted to write a project that kind of spoke to our relationship. And I had it in my head, but I'm living the story, but I'm not putting it on paper. So I hope I'm answering your question, but I said, like, I think what drives you, the thing you're most passionate about, because what you'll end up doing, you'll get it done quicker. You'll get it done quicker. And then sometimes If you need to feed something else, then, feed that other thing, put that thing down. But, in my world and what I do professionally, like I say, like the movie I'm writing is the thing that has, up until now, has been getting the least attention because I have these deadlines for this game show I'm writing. And, sometimes you have to make sure that you're doing the thing that which keeps your lights on. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Thank you. So one more question. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm an intimacy coordinator, and so much of my job is making like the logistics, what's on the page, like come to life. And so I'm always wondering with writers, like when you're writing, do you consider that? And then I guess the logistics, like can this happen? Like is that part of the creative process? And how tied are you like to seeing what's like in the directions actually take place? Like, do you feel attached to that actually happening?
I'm trying to understand exactly what you mean. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like, you might see on script, like, she kisses him passionately, right? And I'm always wondering, like, the person writing, like, do they consider what it would take to make that happen in the physical form?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it has to line up logically, you know what I'm saying? But it's also the one thing that I've always enjoyed, and it's like Tamika's an author, and I think a lot of authors, were my writing inspiration, and so I've always tried to be incredibly descriptive when I'm doing log lines. When I'm setting the scene up. So I'm giving the potential director exactly the guideline on how I think it should go. Now, obviously, if we are in production, that might change, but I think you have to make it as logical as humanly possible. But at the same time, it depends upon what you're writing. If you're writing something that's sci-fi related, you're creating an entire world, and it doesn't really matter. Like everybody thought George Lucas was crazy when he wrote Star Wars. They literally thought he was crazy. That's why he got the deal he did. Do you know that? They literally gave him the rights to everything, to the toys and all that other stuff, all the IP, because they said this shit is never going to work. They said it's never going to work. So and he's always, I got a chance to meet him, and that was like a crazy moment. And I think that's what you have to do. Is like, you have to be able to be as creative as the mind is so beautiful. Like, be able to stretch that thing. Don't. And also, one thing I don't do, and I know we got to go, but that's why I have a hard time watching a lot of stuff on television, because, like I say, it's hard for me to create something original from my mind when I'm being influenced by something that somebody else did.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So but I've learned, sometimes you got to watch stuff because you got to have something to talk about at work. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a sports fan. Like, I'm watching it. Like, everybody, I remember going to the writers' room and everybody's like, hey, did you see this new show on Hulu? And da-da-da-da-da. I was like, yo, the Lakers was playing, man. I had to watch the game. And then I get sleepy. It's 10:30. I got to go to work in the morning. But I'm getting better at doing that, but like watching streaming shows and stuff like that. I'm watching this show right now called A New Look. It's about designers and with Coco Chanel and Christian Dior. Ben Mendelsohn is like, I normally tend to lead myself to actors and then watch the projects that they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's amazing. He's amazing. I don't know why he don't have an Oscar. I don't know why, because he's amazing.
Y'all, give a round of applause.
Thank y'all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you for
your
me.
generosity.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you.